Hey guys, MKDH here, and welcome back to Secrets of Evermore Odds and Ends. And yes, I know I left the ban on because it's my continued statement against all the idiocy that enabled the issues like the California wildfires. Yeah, because all that idiocy has to end. Jeez. Of course, yeah, you're probably here so that we can go over copies. Because copies are, of course, the secret of Evermore's in case of too awesome to use. Or at least they're supposed to be, but some mechanics just gimp their usability. Then again, copies aren't exactly provided in finite quantity, even outside the leaders providing them if you run too low. Or the glitch at the Nobilia Palace, where you can get infinite copies, or get to the cap of 99 anyway. The northeast room in the Halls of Colossia and certain screens in Gothica have enemies dropping copies. Of course, the chance of an enemy dropping a copy is low, never exceeding 166, and also keeping in mind that the standard enemies that their chance of dropping anything to begin would be 1 in 16. Oh, and yes, you can tell how my getting copies in a row was a literal 1 in a million chance. To be precise, 1 in 1,115,136. And yet it has been on recording. Oh, and yeah, it's far easier to square 1,056 than it is to multiply 4,356 by 256. That aside, again, I'm wishing I had that brand of luck with the 1 in a million chance, making progress and getting proper support for fixing my parents' house. But alas, the point is, hobbies do maintain enough value, even if their actual cap is 99 rather than the 6 for about any other item. Where they have problems is when most of the spells get competition too fast because of how inflated spell leveling is in the Secrets of Evermore, thanks in no small to the absurdly high level cap, and the insane level multipliers for the spell power. But I may as well go over that as I go over the spells. Starting with the spells from Elizabeth and Ruffleberg, aka the Fire Eyes. And Elizabeth's first spell is Life Spark, which is a 200 might heal to target. Of course, it's worth mentioning in case you get confused by the numbers, in case they exceed 133. Well, they didn't this time, but for basic healing or attack combat spells, if any related spell has its might multiplied by the level multiplier by itself, so that's basically doubled, exceed the combat spells, the related spell's effective double might will take precedence. So, for example, if you have heal at level 2 for effectively 112 might, or super heal at level 1 for effectively 124 might, the used might value will be 224 with the former, or 248 with the latter, and it will take whichever is higher, which would mean 248 with the combination of my example. Oh, and by the way, no, Miracle Cure, 1-Up, and Regrowth don't apply for the basic healing combat spells. Just to make a point. There we go, 141. In theory, this system is meant to allow combat spells to stay consistently useful, and even make them an option for saving up alchemy spell slots. In practice, a combat still is a much higher value resource than ingredients like water and roots, when it is unlikely that you need too much to have more than 5 slots of spells used up. Like, I effectively used 6 here. Used 6 for the final battle. Of course, if you do want to bring a buff spam, because I do have 5 buffs, there's still a 4 status capacity, and I don't think buffs will even try to overwrite the negative effects. I don't know why Secret of Evermore couldn't have had combat spells take a cue from Final Fantasy II's Ultimate spell, which add an improving might mechanic based off of having other spells at higher levels. Heck, Super Mario RPG used a similar mechanic to Final Fantasy II's Ultimate spell for Mario's basic jump special, a mechanic that Waller D's Super Mario RPG Raw Revolution ROM hacker ran with, Even giving it the Ballad Crusher special to give the big leg of magic option. Of course, only 2 spells affect basic healing called spells, but believe me, it's far worse with the attack spells. And all of Elizabeth's other hobby spells are attack spells. Next to demonstrate is Flare, and by the way, proof of concept that targeting with 1 to 3 targets goes for the nearest target, so with multi-targeting. Another reason that go for distance close, so, even if it's subtle. But anyway, Flare is a 150 might attack that's capable of that it's optional multi-targeting. Of course, Flare is the biggest victim of the handling of combies. Oh, and proven case in point for what I'm going to talk about. Notice how the Wimpy Flower took 215 damage and the Skeletons have taken 431. Yeah, 215 is slightly less than, it's rounded down from half of 431. Yeah. For reference, Flare is never going to be stronger than Elizabeth's other multi-target optional spell, Storm. And from what I can tell, the only reason its invocation script is longer is simply due to the animation behavior, because I'm pretty sure Flare is a theoretically dodgeable projectile. Note, of course, that I do say theoretically. Yeah, theoretically. Don't expect to be able to dodge it, of course. What I can gather is that there is no unique purpose to Flare. And before you say anything, no. It won't ignore magic defense like the Flare spell in the Final Fantasy series does. Otherwise, the Carnage Flower would not have its damage, or not Carnage Flower, Wimpy Flower, would not have its damage cut in half by the 32 magic defense. Actually, I'm on the topic of Final Fantasy VI, or Final Fantasy. Having been watching Thunder Patrolin's Final Fantasy VI playthrough recently, I'm knowing that Final Fantasy VI has surprising structure with the defense busting, and giving certain aspects of the character's special abilities defense stat ignoring or making them magic. Although it ends up being the big bad explanation for why Edgar would be as powerful as he is, given he gets the best option variety and consistency. His only blind spot is the heavy Magitech armors during the Narcissus siege, when he won't have to drill or chainsaw to give him a way to bypass physical defense. Yeah, these old games said ideas, I can point out that much. I mean, heck, Final Fantasy VI, thinking about it, how it handles physical defense enemies, when, what was it? When Final Fantasy VI uses the division defense, you know how I feel about division defense. Next up is Seat Wave, as soon as I can get 4 Skeletons on screen, because... for a start. Oh, here we go. Heat Wave is a 225 might all attack, or at least it targets the nearest 8 enemies anyway, I believe. Yeah, I mean, at least Heat Wave maintains a unique purpose, although the target count does still fully affect its final damage output. For reference, Heat Wave will be able to hit up to 8 targets, although I doubt a scenario with more than 8 targets often comes out, and I can guarantee that that aspect is merely to avoid stressing the SNES. The same sort of reason why Heat Wave is the only offense spell to lock up the menu we bring up. Yeah, I tried bringing up the menu there. No dice. And the last of Fire Ice spells. Yeah, I think I'd want to refresh the screen. Or I can make this work. Storm. Storm is also a 225 might attack. You might have noticed that dealing way more damage than the stated might, than the might values I stated. For starters, compared to before I start on that, compared to Heatwave, Storm will be for hitting particular threats. I can bring this up now. Basic attack call beat spells, as I mentioned before, will have their might compared to effective double might of any learned basic attack alchemy spells. Yeah, basic. So everything down to the oddball sting will get involved. But corrosion, slow burn, and the drain spell duo won't. And yeah, in case you haven't noticed, I have sting at level 5 in order. I've had it at level 5 in order to set up demonstration purposes against Terminators, so that's 75 times 10 equals 750, but that gets multiplied by 2 for 1500 might. Oh, and yeah, this encourages over-focusing on select spells, or at least it would if call beats weren't so rare. So, at least Flare gets to deal the same damage as Storm. Unfortunately, it still comes at the cost of attack call beat spells no longer being uniquely useful, with differing strengths and weaknesses, which... yeah, the call beat spell just isn't refined. You're just get out of jail free cards in a 90s RPG. Oh, and the sad thing is, this system doesn't even help with Nitro, because firepower at the same base might, but with better availability, and also not needing the player to traverse 2 regions to restock on its ingredient. Don't worry, things get better. The call beat spell just isn't refined. You're just get out of jail free cards in a 90s RPG. So, jump cutting to Halls of Colossia, we'd have a more appropriate setting for showing off the spells of none other than Horace Highwater. And we're going to be off to a good start. Oh, and yeah, I made use of save state in case you're wondering. I want to demonstrate something with this first spell, because that's particularly when it's a good start. As soon as the man monks can status me. Oh, there we go. Oh, damage, please. There we go. So, we start off with Time Warp, which unless the last damage instance, it works through the dog being KO'd. It multi-targets unconditionally. And, believe it or not, it undoes any statuses you might be inflicted with. Guess it's confounding Mammon, guys. Or you can just plague me again. Come on. Oh, stop. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Time Warp works on all statuses, and let's get rid of you before you get any bright ideas. Oh my dog. You pass. Yeah, Time Warp cures stasis unconditionally, as I demonstrated, and at least it works on Confound and Plague, but there's no reason it shouldn't work on other stasis. And it's not bugged to fail to cure Confound properly, which is more than what can be said for go cure. But yeah, Time Warp heal undoes the last damage instance. It's unique. It's uniquely useful. And it warrants being, and of course it warrants being a copied spell in terms of gameplay because it can then do burst damage. Of course, no, you can't mulligan the boy's own death if that happens, because the boy would be too dead to cast anything in the first place. He'd already be getting the game over. Yeah. We're off to a great start with Horace. Yes! Thank you, Horace! Of course, first aid is not nearly as complicated. It's simply a 400 might heal. It's granted, I would translate to 266 might, but yeah, 379. Yeah, first aid is consistently powerful for the entire game, even before heal and super heal affected. Heal would clear effective 200 might at level 4, and super heal would manage at level 2. Yeah, first aid is simplistic, it's at least powerful, but my question is, why can't Life Spark cure statuses? Because first aid is a direct upgrade from Life Spark if you ignore the overriding might mechanic. I mean, why can't Life Spark have cured statuses? That would have made Life Spark uniquely useful. Oh well, hindsight and all that. And I'm going to need another dummy target. Oh, here we go. Next up to demonstrate is Confound, which makes the it's a 60 no wait no 30-second debuff that makes the enemy makes the enemy a bit more confused. Yeah, that Mammonk's now moving slowly, and he will randomly attack thin air. And I mean, he doesn't even try to attack. He didn't even try to attack there. Yeah, oh, there we go. The warn off. Obviously, to slow down and random attacking is the substitute for control reversal, because us humans are affected by control reversal. But, yeah. Well, I guess it's useful if you can just trust in being a martial artist. I don't think it's quite worth a copy, being a copy spell, but I will cover Regenerating later. I'll cover Aura next, but first I need the Mammonk to plague me again. Of course, knowing my luck, I'll get confounded next. Come on, plague me. Plague me! That's not statusing me at all. Even Confound would be I wonder, can my monks have multiple hitbox things? Confounded and oh, there we go. And yeah, I called Confound coming first. Anyway, this is a perfect opportunity to go over Aura, which is actually barrier, but he's better by blocking poison and plague damage because it has a 45-second duration, of course. Yeah, you can see that I'm not taking any damage from plague. So it's better from barrier, aside from not providing any healing. This goes without saying again. Aura even has the added advantage of and it wore off. And yeah, now I'm taking damage from the plague. Yeah, Aura Aura has the advantage of availability on barrier via the Gothic arc, but being a copied spell keeps the aura under control at least. I mean, it's not quite a loss forever. It's not a loss forever, but still, it's powerful. So yeah, it would warrant being a copied spell. So I'm going to jump cut to what I'll showcase with Regenerate, because, yep, Time Warp! So having jumped forward, we can now showcase Horace's final spell and a potential loss forever, Regenerate. You might notice that that I totally didn't use emulation feature to fast forward this. Let's invoke Regenerate. Will it help? Just waiting for the digits. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Regenerate provides an auto revival status like Life 3 in or re-raise in Final Fantasy 6. And yeah, you know how I feel about auto revival. I mean, it suffers the problem that pixie dust exists, but I mean, seriously, auto revival is worthy of it's innately worthy of, what was it, being a copy still. I mean, even though you can get caught off guard, I mean, it's more skill based. I think auto revival in Final Fantasy VI is indefinite in terms of battle. It would only go away after battle ends, or if it gets dispelled manually. But here in Secret of Evermore, it just has a 60-second duration, so you use it, 60-second pass, and then you take fatal damage, you still die. So it would be more skill-based. Oh, and yeah, Regenerate restores. The Auto Revival restores you with 1 HP, and then it would restore you. It would heal you with 60 HP, affected by the Moxa stick, of course. But yeah, that covers Horace Highwater spells, and he's got a solid repertoire. Find a jump gate. Jump cut to the next leader of Evermore. So we're back at Gomi's Tower, and first I want to display that. No, Sterling is no longer here. But yeah, it means that Sterling no longer loads in the game after you've beaten him. Apparently that can result in an unwinnable by mistake situation, although it's practically unwinnable by insanity, because because Mongola would be right around the corner when Sterling drops you out, and you can just kill him and be done with the whole Gothica hardcore. Oh, and yeah, there's no snip locations up there anyway. Give me for grub. Or the... So going into Camellia Bluegarden spells, first up is Shockwave, which... yeah, it's forced all attacking. It's a 281 might all attack spell. It's once again influenced by basic attack spells, hence the numbers. I mean, at least it's better than Heatwave though. Except you probably have a spell exceeding 140 effective might by the time you talk to the real Camellia regardless. And so it only need to be at level 2 to achieve this, despite being the weakest post-prehistory of basic attack spell. So, yeah. Shockwave's just visual. Right. Yeah, case in point, you can still access the menu when using Shockwave. The Shockwave when Shockwave is having that earthquake visual. Next up is Shield, and yeah, all of Camelia's spells except for Shockwave actually are never replicated. Shield provides a 1 minute buff of the shield status, and there's no multi-target benefit. There's no multi-target penalty, so wait. Let me de-equip stuff. What's my 47? Then there will be 11. Hello, please. Please actually damage me. Fine, I'll just need another copy to reset the shields. Yeah, well. Oh, there we go. 46. Gargan has 88 attack, so you see that. So I'm supposed to take about 77 damage, give or take 25% from that. But I take less than 50 damage because Shield actually cuts damage in half for 1 minute. As usual with the buff spells, there's no multi-target penalty. Oh, and yes, cutting damage in half. And that would be strong in its own right, but hey, it's not like you could have a 45-second duration invulnerability spell at this point. Oh, and no, Shield still wouldn't save you from the flowering death, because the 999 damage cap is applied after the for Shield's damage halving, so the flowering death would still deal their continuous damage as well, so yeah. And then we have Plague, which is a 40-minded attack, and also causing the Plague status. What? Oh, there we go. 40. Is it random? $34. 35. Weird. Yeah, just look at it. Yeah. I swear, Plague is a 40-line attack. But as you see, it deals the same damage both immediately and about every 250 frames. Believe it or not, Plague spell doesn't get influenced by the basic attack spells, which makes sense as it would be broken if it did. I mean, it slowly ate through the Dragoil's HP, I mean, as it was. Of course, Plague still has the disadvantage of not being available without getting past Perminator. Or, I mean, that's the problem with Camellia spells as a whole, really. And finally, we have Hypnotize, which causes the Hypnotize status for 20 seconds, and you're not supposed to attack. But compared to Stop, Hypnotize will make the affected enemies intangible or untargetable. So, there's that at least. Oh, and by the way, it's been reported that these debuff spells will never work on Carltron's robot. So, yeah, don't even try it. And now I covered all of Camelia's hobby spells, but the jump cut, right? Well, there's a few complications, because Sidney Ruffleberg's own spells have some complications involved. I mean, disrupt, it can be using the showcase, and I'd have a lot, I'd have a much easier time showcasing it here, so, but, hold on. Sorry, Gorgrub, you have magic defense. You're on the same screen as the, what was it? You're on the same screen as the dragon, also we can use Disrupt, which is a 150 might attack, also inflicting the Disrupt status. 9067. And yeah, this Rupt is basically the same as Confound, except it lasts for a full minute. Like Plague, Disrupt is not affected by basic attack spells, which does make sense from a design perspective, of course. It's still applying a status. I mean, it's granted, it's still gimped by coming in so late in the game. Come on. I may as well showcase the Electrobolt first. It's a 331 at might attack. Of course, when Acid Rain can reach level 5, 165 effective might, that functions, yeah. The level multipliers were simply too high, so not much to be said about Electrobolt. It's just visual usefulness at most. I mean, heck, it would be visual usefulness. Yeah, the copied spell system just wasn't thought out that well. And we have Restore, which is a full heal on the selected targets. Yeah, full heal, as I say. Its only purpose really is to have a single target full heal on Private Hazard here. And that's in compare. Wait, what? Oh, it restores both characters. What the heck? Restores not super heal! Of course, restore full healing Private Hazard anyway is in comparison to one up healing the target's HP, or super heal fully healing both characters, or it's supposed to be anyway. Yeah, theoretically you can save spell slots, but don't expect results again. So yeah, that was the call beat system, and yeah, it's definitely a bit empty. I mean, Horace is definitely the highlight. Horace's spells are definitely the highlight. Yeah. So that covers all of the spells, but I'm not done with this series. I will have other things to cover. So until then, thanks for watching. Hope you're enjoying this, and I hope you have a good day. MKDH out. Seriously, what were they thinking with the copy system's design?